Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Marketing Officer, SAP Cloud and Line of Business, Tim Minahan.
Lindsay Sterling, everyone. Thank you, Lindsay. What a phenomenal performance and a great way to start today. Well, good morning, everyone. And welcome to Ariba Live 2014. You know, today's event marks an amazing milestone. This is the 15th year of Ariba Live. That's nearly 2 decades of bringing procurement and finance and commerce professionals together. That's 15 years of sharing best practices, of showcasing world-class procurement and financial performance, and most importantly, connecting you with your peers and your partners. And today, I'm happy to say, with over 2,200 attendees here in the audience and nearly twice that watching on the web, Ariba Live, no doubt, is the single largest gathering of procurement and finance professionals on the planet. Yet despite all the numbers and despite all the years that have passed, the core mission of Ariba Live has never wavered. It's to provide a forum to share ideas, to forge partnerships, and to shape the future of business commerce. In short, it is a show designed exclusively for you. And on behalf of Ariba, I wanted to start the event this year by saying thank you. Thank you for all that you do for us each and every day. Thank you for your ideas. Thank you for your requests. Thank you for constantly pushing us to make Ariba and SAP and the solutions that we deliver better and better. Now, in the 25 years that I have personally been involved in and around the procurement industry, I have seen a dramatic transformation in the discipline, from a reactionary and executional function in those early days to today, where many of you are not just driving cost savings or efficiency, but you are actively shaping the strategies for your companies. Now, I've had the opportunity in those years to engage with some of the pioneers of this transformation, folks like IBM's Gene Richter, or Chrysler's Tom Stallkamp, or Dave Nelson, first at Honda and then later at John Deere. Now, each of these leaders had their own personal styles, but they all shared 2 key traits. First, they were relentlessly focused on achieving business outcomes. And they constantly focused on determining the right organizational structures, the right processes, and the right enabling technologies to achieve them. And second, they believed that procurement should be more than just a center for cost control. They believed that you should be a platform for innovation, to help the company reach new markets, to generate competitive products, to create new channels for growth. Now, many of today's procurement and supply chain leaders, many of you right here in this audience, once worked with or for these pioneers. So I know you share this vision. In fact, procurement as a platform for innovation was a rallying cry for chief financial officers, CEOs, chief procurement officers, and other business executives that participated in our Vision 2020 initiative. The intent of this effort was to really foster a dialogue and set a vision for the future of procurement and the future of buyer-seller collaboration. And when we did the initial study just a few years back, leading executives had a prediction. They believed that in the future, procurement would move well beyond cost control to become a center for delivering business solutions and delivering value. They expected you to take a leading role in driving and executing strategy in entirely new areas. Areas like product innovation and service innovation. Areas like market expansion, compliance and cash flow, and marketing and branding. Well, I'm happy to say these are no longer predictions. No matter where you look, the future of procurement, of finance, and of business commerce is here today. We have entered the outcome economy, where the only thing that matters are results and constantly innovating to achieve them. And you You are leading the charge. When Tata Motors executives set a bold objective of building the world's most affordable car, selling for the equivalent of just $2,500 US, it was you, the procurement organization, that took the lead in identifying innovative assemblies, new manufacturing techniques, both in the global supply base and the local Indian supply base, to make that vision a reality. When Rio Tinto set out an equally daring goal to build the world's largest mine in Mongolia, it was the procurement and supply chain organizations who were tapped once again to lead the charge. In fact, last year, right here at Ariba Live, we learned how Rio Tinto's supply chain organization is now out in the outer reaches of Mongolia, building local supply, developing entire towns and services and telecommunications and transportation infrastructure where none exists. Other companies are turning to procurement and finance as change agents for improving global compliance and cash flow. Retailers like Dollar Tree, utilities like OneOak, and financial services leaders like Deutsche Bank, who you'll hear from later today. All of these and many more are using better invoice and discount management as a newfound source for profit and cash flow improvements. And not just for their companies, but for their entire supply chains. And finally, with today's socially and environmentally conscious consumer, procurement is even taking a key role in corporate brand reputation. That's why companies from Anglo American to the Commonwealth Bank of Australia to the Red Cross are not only sourcing from suppliers with fair trade and fair labor practices, but are actively developing suppliers and improving the working conditions in remote and impoverished regions. All of these leaders view procurement and finance as a platform for innovation. And they also view Ariba as a key partner and an enabler for that success. That's why everything we do here at Ariba and within SAP is designed to fuel that innovation. We are constantly striving to simplify and automate your processes, to provide you with new capabilities and new insights so you can drive strategic value to the business. All that we've done in our history, whether it was pioneering web-based procurement to simplify your buying practice and improve compliance, or being the first to market with advanced online auctioning and sourcing automation so that you can make informed, best value decisions, or establishing the entire discipline of spend management so that companies like yours could holistically manage all of your spend and all of your supplier relationships on a single platform. Or today, ushering in a new vision for collaborative commerce that brings value to both buyers and sellers on the Ariba network. All of it was designed to help you achieve your intended business outcomes today so that you could innovate for the future. Now, many of you have asked me how, if any of this, has changed now that Ariba is part of SAP. And there's been change for sure. But being part of SAP has only improved Ariba's ability to carry out our original mission. As part of SAP, our pace of innovation has increased. We now have access to new capabilities and new technologies and expertise and global reach that was once beyond our own reach. Now, to help put that in perspective on how Ariba and the network fits within SAP's broader strategy, please welcome SAP Executive Vice President of Industry Business Solutions, Dr. Shakib Boudry.
Thanks.
Welcome, Shakib. Welcome to Ariba Live.
Thank you for having me here, and welcome to everyone for joining us.
Thank you. Now, I know yesterday you spent the time with a number of the sellers on the network, and today, though, I'm not sure everyone in the audience also knows that you also now oversee SAP's business network strategy, which includes the Ariba network. So could you describe for a bit SAP's broader vision for business networks?
Yeah, I think in 2010, I was asked to run the corporate strategy for SAP. And we said that we looked at where we're going in the future. It's really interesting to look at where we come from. And the thing that's really was staggering was some of you may not know the statistics, but they're worth knowing, is about 74% of the business transactions in the world happen in an SAP system. So for the last 40 years, we digitized how companies do business within the company, between HR, finance, manufacturing, and we've done a really good job. And then when we looked at where the future is, we find that every 10 years, there was one technology that changes the world. And being big in technology becomes a challenge, because it's hard for you to move to a new technology. And in 2010, we figured that there were about 3 technologies that moved at the same time to maturity. And that's never happened before. You have the internet was one technology. It was client server, it was one technology. Then suddenly you have mobility. Everyone is connected everywhere, and you don't even have to pay for the infrastructure. People are connected. Then you have the cloud. You can deliver solutions faster, better, and you can do things you couldn't do before. You could never connect to multi-suppliers, multi-customers, with the standard protocol that you couldn't do, we couldn't do it before. The third one with big data. There was an enormous amount of data. I truly believe in the world we live in today, the one resource that is completely misused or underused is the big data. Machines are talking, people are giving you data, performance from suppliers, buyers, networks, all sorts of things are around us. But we don't have the technology or the cost structure, if you want, to deal with that knowledge. So we decided at SAP we want to go into these 3 categories, cloud, mobility, and the story, you know it. So at 74% of the transactions in the world in SAP, the question is, what do you do next? 75 becomes really hard, 76 becomes really hard. People don't want to change their system. So the question becomes, why don't we connect businesses? Because if you think about one of the biggest waste of money and resource today in a digital world is connectivity. So when we looked at connectivity, it was very easy to look. When you look in the world, there was Ariba. And every customer who buys SAP buy Ariba. So it was very clear that there was a sign there from our customers, we really like Ariba. So it's like, we like you SAP, but we like Ariba too. So we decided to go for the business network. And our definition of business network go beyond what we do today with business with Ariba. Ariba is a beginning. I'll give you the other business network we bought that people may not know about. If you do texting today in this room, the likelihood that we will process 70% of the texts that you are sending are very high. We process 70% of text messaging today in the world. We have data centers all over the world, and we process this data. So when we talk about network, it's not just about connecting businesses, also called connecting businesses with consumer and other people through texting. So we do amazing. We process about 2 billion text messages a day. So that's an enormous amount. So when I look at the business network from SAP strategy, we believe the business network that Ariba is running today is really a great infrastructure. But we need to go and do business networks that are industry flavored. Like if you are in the, let's say if you're in the pharma industry, you need to traceability of everything that we shipped all the way to the value chain. If you are in the oil and gas, you really have to be much better at managing services, complex services management. If you're in high tech, you want to do real collaboration on design and shipping and real supply chain connectivity, a retailer consumer. They have enormous amount of data, POS data need to be exchanged and everything else. So we believe that the foundation of Ariba is incredible, but it's only as good as we're willing to add enormous investment by industry, by LOB, by functionality to take it to the next level. So I think when we bought Ariba, we bought with our eyes open. We paid a lot of money, but that's behind us now. But we got one of the best company, and the culture of the 2 companies is so perfect. I don't even know how long Ariba was in the portfolio because the link and the integration was so smooth. It really felt like we've been doing business together for a long time. So it's a real pleasure to have the Ariba in our portfolio, and I think you're going to see accelerated innovation. You're going to see very, very different things coming in the future.
Yeah, so absolutely, vision lock and culture lock. And you were talking about expertise, but there's also technology. So explain a little bit to this audience how SAP itself is benefiting the Ariba customers, whether they're an SAP ERP customer or an ERP customer of another provider.
I think you're asking really good questions. So when we look at the value we deliver to you, We look at it into, for us to get into the business network, we knew there are 4 things we have to do really well. I think number 1 is we really have to maintain the openness of our technology. So we are not walking away from this. It has to be integrated with SAP. It can integrate to any system. A network, by definition, the power of the network is the size of the network and the energy within the network. So we are completely committed to maintaining the architecture for open architecture for many, many systems. I think the second one that we looked at is this idea of opening to new networks. SAP is only one network with Ariba, but we have many other networks. And we are just making a real strategic announcement today about the collaboration we're doing with Discover. So when you look at your process, you look at process procure to pay. Reality, you don't really pay. You have to authorize the payment. Then the payment goes to Treasury, then Treasury does all the handling to the banks and costs. And in the US, it's the most amazing things happening. 70% of the payment is still done by checks. Checks were invented in the 1920s. It's like how digital we really are. So we Discover we want to go all the way to really payments. And what we want to go this concept of taking shared services to the next level. Shared services in most companies are so mature, they're stagnating. So now if you can process payments, you can have touchless invoicing like we do in SAP today. It's unbelievable, the value. I think the third one is the industry. So when we take industry and technology like HANA, and we can start working with Ariba and bring the technology like HANA to analyze enormous amount of data from the network and give you the Google effect, which is why you are entering. The system knows who you are, know what you're looking for, find another supplier. The suppliers love it because they found a new market. The buyer loves it. And then if I can automate your data, this concept of reducing your vendors, number of vendors, is a good concept only for critical materials. For materials that are not critical, why do you care? You want the lowest cost. If I can avoid for you to have to enter the whole data on the supplier and the network and the buy-in and all the stuff, it can automate that for you, then why not? Go for the lower cost. So we believe we need to be more about delivering the value than having concepts that are rigid, that don't give us flexibility. And also globalization. When you look at Ariba is limited. We don't have a solution today that's really ready for China, for Japan. We don't have ready for some other countries. So now we have about 1,000 people in SAP. That's all what they do is localization. They're based in Brazil, they're based in China. So we bring in assets, our technology, people, industry knowledge, and connectivity. And the biggest things we're going to bring, if you think about it, put all this stuff aside. If the network is big and it doubles every year, that's good for all of us. So the biggest things we're going to add is the size and the speed at which we're going to onboard customers. And the business network has one thing about it. You have to incur all the costs and wait for a long time to get the money. So SAP, I think we have a deep pocket, deeper than Ariba. So I think we're going to be investing heavily in functionality, partnership, everything to accelerate the value to you. So I think the commitment from us to the Ariba team is double everything. Double the volume, double the investment in R&D, double the investment in localization, double the innovation. And I think it's really working well because you're voting with your money. And I think last year's numbers tell us that you really like what you see, and we like it too.
That's great. Well, we've talked about the industry expertise. We've talked about the technologies like HANA and the value it can bring to networked intelligence and the commerce graph. So in closing, really, what's next? What else do you see on the horizon for business networks and how you can build on top of what Ariba's already built?
Well, I think what's next is for us to listen to you first. And that's why I've been spending 3 days here, and I've been just listening to different discussion. I think you will have to tell us what's next, and we're willing to do it. What I know when I talk to CEOs, and you're going to be hearing one of the CEOs this morning, there was one topic that's hot on their mind, is they want to do business in an omni-channel fashion. They want to do all the channels. They want to find the commerce as one channel, the website as another channel, direct sales another channel, social as another channel to influence. And I'll tell you, every one of you, when I look at what you said, their business outcome is going to come from very much cost cutting or finding new customers if you are a supplier. But innovation. I'll tell you, this platform could become one of the biggest platforms of innovation. How do you sell? How do you produce? How do you influence? How do you do a lot of things? And I think from SAP, first we're going to open more networks. We're looking to connect our networks to more other networks, so we will do that. Like we talked about Discover today. We're going to work with more partners to give us a size so we can all be relevant. It's very important. And I think the most important one is this whole innovation around how do we become an omni-channel for you. If you're a buyer, you want to find more suppliers, not just be connected to one or two, and you have to be global by nature. And I think a lot of businesses in this room, they're looking to go global. And this platform could give you a real platform to go global faster. If we can get into Japan, can go to other markets, and I think we will see that SAP will really start to think more about opening channels for you, whether a buyer or a supplier, and also taking shared services in finance and everything to the whole new level of automation we haven't seen before. So I think the future is bright, and we're really excited. From the board level to everyone at SAP, we're fully committed.
Thank you, Shakib. A very exciting view of the future.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, Shakib, your insights really reinforce Ariba's core mission, and that's to provide an open platform for innovation and better business outcomes. Now, in closing, I want to ask you all to do me a favor. I want you to take a moment and look around this room. You are the innovators for your function, for your business, for this age. You're enabling new processes. You're creating new channels for growth, all to deliver greater and greater outcomes for your companies. Now, on behalf of Ariba and SAP, I want to thank you for your vision, for your drive, and for your passion. And I encourage you all to keep on innovating. Thank you, and enjoy the show.